Don't judge a mother's care, whether it's how she feeds her baby, how she wears her baby, how she sleeps with her baby. She's going to do what's right for her. I don't need the judgment nor the unsolicited advice. Happy Tuesday morning. That should be a song, a jingle.
Tuesday morning. Ooh, I'm going to put you in charge of making our official podcast jingle.
Oh, I'm here for it. I'll get right on it.
And then you can put on your resume that you're also a music producer.
Yes.
We can just build our dream resumes off of our
graphic designer, editor, music creative director. I'm here for that. I love it.
Executive co-creator.
Oh, fancy words.
Oh my God. All right. Well,
I'm delusional this morning.
Oh, I am too. I got oversunned and I'm thankful it's summertime and getting warm, but I need to stay indoors today.
The contrast between you and me right now with our skin is quite, you look really nice and tan and sun-kissed, and I look like I haven't come out of the house in 6 months.
If it makes you feel any better, my face does not match my stomach or my legs.
Okay, that does.
I was looking in the mirror yesterday and I was like, my arms and face belong to a different body than everything from the chest down. I'm so pale on my legs. I even tried to leave them out this weekend. I think they just refuse to take on sunlight.
It's harder for your legs to tan. I think it's in the skin type. I don't know.
Well, if they could just be a little less translucent. I don't love seeing all of my vasculature through my skin.
Hey, turkeys, real quick, we want to tell you about our fun new free craft corner. Every quarter, in line with the equinox or solstice, we are going to send out new farts and crafts projects. You can find the link in the show notes. Just drop us your email. We promise not to spam you, but we'd love for you to join us. Now back to the show.
Okay, getting back to topics. So everyone that didn't listen last week,
Go back.
Not really. But kind of. But our conversation last week where Kayla was talking about, I don't know how to summarize this adequately, but basically just like some kind of reflections after being a mom for a year.
Mm-hmm. Navigating momhood and all the different things that you don't know until you know. And yeah, if you want to hear me cry, that's a good one to go back to. No, it was very good. And you brought this topic up and I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, so that's what got my brain percolating. I think as we were talking while we were recording last week of what are things, how can people support you? I guess that's how I started. How can you be supportive to your friends that just had a kid? And then we figured we could build this out vice versa. And I was, doing my journaling about this. And I was kind of realizing everybody kind of does things a little bit differently when they have a major life event. But I feel like a lot of friendships have weird hitches, even relationships, even siblings, parents kind of sometimes get wonky during major life events because they don't know what the other person needs. And a lot of us get tripped up assuming someone wants what we would want, or we assume like rom-com thinking where the people that we love should be able to guess what our needs are. But really, if we love people, we should be able to be vulnerable enough to ask for what we need. Kind of like flipping that around. So I don't know. I was kind of reflecting on the bigger conversation of it's hard to ask for help when you're the person that needs it. And then it's also hard to support people when you're not sure what they are needing. So I was kind of building this out in my head to just kind of the overarching concept of just asking people, how can I support you if you don't know? Because I think we just forget to ask. I think a lot of us are running around with good intentions and hurting each other's feelings because we're making assumptions that don't fit. And then our internal dialogue is skewing negative. So I don't know. I guess that was my takeaway from my life, is just saying to people, what can I do? How can I support you? What do you need right now? And realizing the burden lies on both parties, because I can want to be supportive, and if somebody is too much of a perfectionist to be supported and to receive help, like, that is not on me either. So if someone, you can offer, and if somebody says no, I don't need anything, or they don't answer, well, if they come back and get poopy at you later, it's like, that's not really on you. I don't know. There's a lot of layers. So we're just going to kind of tackle what we've noticed as you being a new mom, and you were married, no kids, or in a relationship, no kids, for a while before. So you've been on both sides of the fence, and I'm obviously not going to talk out my ass and pretend like I know what it's like on your side of the now having a child. But yeah, we just thought it would be fun to kind of dive into that and see. And I'm going to put out a caveat. None of these are specific to anybody in my life in particular, and I haven't necessarily experienced any of this directly either. I don't want any of our 5 people listening to think I'm talking about them. I'm definitely not talking about you.
Thank
but
you
I'm
for
going
the
to say
caveat.
you.
Yeah.
I'm going to say you because it sounds more natural to talk that way.
Yeah. I mean, I know you well enough to know that would probably have been the case, but I am a little easier on the side of getting butthurt. So thank you for just clarifying.
Yeah.
You just start thinking, you overthink, and then
I know.
see, setting expectations.
We're chronic overthinkers. I will start off on the front side of saying I think we've done a really good job.
I do too. I hope.
It hasn't felt weird at all.
Good.
It's also different because we live remotely. I'm talking like I'm at an office. We don't live in the same state. But
we have a remote friendship.
we're friending remotely. I also think doing this podcast has helped because we're having so much. I don't feel like anything has changed except for you just have a different schedule.
Good.
Let me just start off by also saying that to the women of the world who don't have kids yet, I just need to tell you that you are going to need to learn how to be flexible and not get butt hurt. Yes, I think there are times, yes, if people are going to be friends, things have to change, and both people need to feel supported, and both people have to invest in a relationship. But also, you can't run around in selfish land and think that you're the most important thing in the world. Anyway, do you want to kick it off, since you've been both people? You've been a dinkwad, dual income, no kids with a dog, and a new mommy.
Yes, thank you for letting me kick this off, because I do have, obviously mine are going to be more of the, as a mom, what can my community do to help women, or just, hey, if your friend is going to have a baby soon, here are some things to think about. Because now I understand. As a non-mom, I had no fucking clue how to be supportive. And I love, if you don't know, just ask, I'm here to love on you. Let me know what that looks like. Let me know how I can support you, because everyone is so different. Just like everyone's raising their kids different. Everyone deals with postpartum differently. And now being through it, oh my God, I feel like an asshole because I didn't show up for my people like I should have, because I didn't know what they needed. For me, I needed space and time and a little bit more privacy than maybe other people. Whereas other people need social interaction and community, and they want someone to come over. It's like you just don't know. So my non-mom thing is, as a non-mom, as someone with friends with moms, who are moms. My ask would be, and I know it's a lot because postpartum is a lot, maybe have a conversation beforehand, but I know me, I didn't know how I was going to feel. So I was kind of just
Yeah.
like, let's cross this bridge when we get there. But as someone who has friends who are moms and doesn't have children, it would be nice if the mother or new mom could just let us know, how can we support you? Like you said, communication. Maybe
Yeah.
ask, like, how can I support you? But, and then respecting their answer. Because it's like, if my one friend says, why didn't you reach out to me for 3 weeks? I feel like you don't even care. I'm like, oh my God, of course I care. I just didn't think you wanted me to bug you.
Yeah.
So that's where the communication piece comes in on both parties. And now being on both
Mm-hmm.
sides of things, that's the biggest thing I would say, is to just figure out what that person needs and respect it, whether it's a lot of interaction or maybe just some more time.
Yeah. I think that's a good piece of advice for moms, for new moms, if they're wondering, or just to say, hey, just say what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, again, it's on both people. One person needs to ask and the other person needs to be honest, but also someone doesn't have to ask either. You could just say,
Yeah.
hey, I'm probably going to need some time. Or, I'd love to see you. Let
Mm-hmm.
me know when you're free. Just something.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard for women to ask for help. I think it's hard for a lot of people to ask for help, but I think a lot of us have a hard time and there's a lot to navigate. And I do think the biggest thing that anybody can do when you're dealing with supporting somebody in a major life change is being patient and not assuming the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just if you give somebody the benefit of the doubt, then that will even go a long way for your own mental sanity.
Yep.
Because I think this applies too when, like, if somebody has a loss,
Yep.
because some people want to be alone. Some people will want to be around more people. I don't know. Oh, the other thing that you made me think of is, not even assuming that what someone needs from kid 1 to kid 2 is the same.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Because even I've seen with my friends now that have multiples, one was way harder than the other, or the postpartum was worse than the other, or the needs changed because now they had a little kid, or they'd done it, they've had a kid before, so their life didn't change as much. I don't know. They were more like able to get up and get out of the house and do more sooner because they weren't daunted by all the gadgets. Like, they
Yeah.
already knew how to do everything and move stuff around and like sling car seats and do all of that. So I don't know. We do that stupid assumptions
Mm-hmm.
quote. It really rings true. Like, if you assume things, it's just not going to go well. Okay. Well, you know me, I'm a list. But where was I going to say? Oh, okay. I think my two things starting off were talking to all of the non-moms in the world is just to remember that you don't know what you don't know, but you do know how to be somebody's friend. So I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes you feel self-conscious because you're like, well, I don't know, how am I going to relate to this person, or this major thing happened? Are we still going to have stuff in common? Like, I think those nerves are normal to kind of wonder, are things going to change?
Mm-hmm.
And I think our parents' generation didn't do the best job at having friends. I guess it's just what they were taught. It's like you have kids and then your life ends. And I think a lot of us have had that unfortunately modeled for us. And so it's really nerve wracking to think like, oh no, I'm going to have no friends because they're all going to have kids. And what are we going to talk about? So I don't know. I just go back to, if you have a strong friendship with somebody, you have a strong friend. Like, that doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
And the dynamics change, and somebody does need to be mentally aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of went back to, I mean, it's not the same as marriage, but I kind of did go back to the whole thing we talked about before, when you're married, that it's not 50-50. it ebbs and flows. And so kind of recognizing that too, if your friend is about to have a kid, that it might be 70-30 for a while.
Mhm.
Like you might be carrying more of the emotional weight or reaching out more often or, whatever the case may be. I think it's okay for that to happen. Like, I think that's normal. I don't, if like when you had your baby, I instinctually was like, I am not going to message Kayla a million questions or, thousands of things. Something I've done, and I do the same thing, not to compare birth with death, but I do the same thing if someone's had a loss where I'll send them a message and not ask a question because I don't want to be a burden of another thing that needs to be responded to, but I want them to know I'm thinking of them. And then it also prevents me from feeling like I've been ignored because no response was needed. So sometimes I think that closed-ended communication can be a good thing in the beginning to just say, hey, just thinking about you. Hope things are going good. Like just checking in, let me know if you need something instead of it feeling like, oh, fuck, now I have to answer this person's question. So, well, and plus I know you're notorious about feeling overwhelmed with having to respond. But I think I don't know. I think that's nice because it doesn't make any pressure. And again, I'm pre-setting myself up to be ignored, not responded to.
You do a great job at that. And that was a really, you were very helpful in the postpartum era when you would just check in, but I knew I didn't feel obligated to respond. And you know me, I don't respond sometimes. But specifically in those moments, it was like, okay, she's thinking of me. This is nice. That's perfect.
Because in a normal conversation, you would just someone would nod or you know what I mean? With texting, I think it's weird because you don't get the gratification of seeing them open the message and laugh or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I also tried to make a point as the person that was not the mom because I don't have kid knowledge. I always tried to focus on the mom, like my friend. I mean, I care about their baby, but it feels like everybody's so obsessed with the baby when it's born, and rightly so. But I also feel like people just don't pay attention to you as the person. And I've, some of my friends who've breastfed a long time or just different things, I've heard different feedback of like, I just felt like a walking boob or like everything needs something of me. So I have always kind of made a point to try to tend to my friend first because I don't have tips on diapers or, you know what I mean? That's why we have community. And I think when you're the person that's not having kids, you also need to remember your friend is going to have other friends and you need to be okay with that. Like, it's not normal or realistic to think that you're going to be everything to one person.
Yep.
Like I can't be my husband's entire emotional support system and gratification system. Like that's not normal. So part of that too is just not being a jealous weirdo and recognizing that your friend that's a mom also needs mom friends because there's just things you can't supply and that's fine. That doesn't like diminish your importance in their life.
Yeah, I agree completely with everything. You basically explained the first thing that's on my list, which is as a mom, don't forget about the mom. When you're pregnant, especially the first time, everyone's like doting on you and oh my God, let me get the door, pick up your feet. It's fine, just relax. And you're like, wow, this is really nice. Well, you know me. But
can I get a glass of water?
Can you just grab me? So things have not changed. No, but once the baby's born, obviously it's a newborn. It's so fragile and it needs help and support and care. But as the parents, you're doing that. And so when you have guests over, like of course they're going to want to meet the baby and of course they're going to want to hold the baby, but it's just like such a switch. The mom is 100% in focus all the way up until the baby's born. And then people forget about the mom and they're only asking, how's the baby? How's the baby? So as now being on the other side of it, my mom friends, I specifically ask not how's little Timmy doing or whatever the name is. I say, how are you doing? How's mom life? You know, like you,
Yeah.
not your kid, because the kid's important,
Mhm.
but like you are also important.
Yeah. I remember you saying that. That stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always, I don't know, even like baby showers and shit. I'm like, let me get the mom something, like a massage, or I don't know. It's like, I maybe it's just because I have a soapbox of women taking up space and taking care of themselves. So maybe that's where some of it comes from. But I do think it's important. And you know, like you talked about last week, it's really easy to get lost in the fray of this new thing you just done. And you talked about too, just birthing can be traumatic.
Even if you have a
And
good, like, quote unquote, good birth or easy birth, I mean, it's
mhm,
fucking traumatic, just regardless.
it's just a lot on your body and then your hormones and I don't know. I don't know. It's astounding is what it is. Um I keep saying this, but as a person without kids, I know. I know that my dog is not the same as someone's baby, but I don't have anything else to relate to. So I am never going to be like, oh, I know exactly what you mean. Followed by, my dog kept me up last night. That would be insane. Luckily, all of my female friends that have had kids are also dog people. So they want to hear dog stories anyway.
Mhm.
So like I have never felt any judgment or discomfort from that, but I've heard it complained about in other spheres. It's like, buddy, I know as long as the person knows it's not the same. I think sometimes that just the comparisons, you're just both sharing about the things in your life that you care about.
Mhm.
So
Everyone wants to
just
be related to, and so that's the closest thing to it. I mean, you still are parenting a dog. It's just it looks different, but it's still a thing. You still have to take care of
right.
the thing.
I mean, I recognize that if my dogs are being annoying, I can shut them in a room and then go in another room, or I can put them outside and ignore them for an hour, and you can't do that with the child. But I notice myself too. I'll draw a lot of comparisons of like, oh, my friend said this or my friend said that, you know, like talking through other people or you know, experiences with my nephew or things like that. But like you said, people just want to relate and have things in common and carry on a conversation. So just everyone calm down. That's my first
It's,
piece of advice.
I love it. Yeah, I like that one. Um, I we talked about this already, but everyone handles postpartum differently. So what I said is, don't feel guilty. Like, excuse me, women should not feel guilty for asking for help or accepting help. But on the other end, it's like, don't force yourself on them. Luckily, that never happened with us, but I've heard stories of certain extended family members or certain friends that thought they were closer than what they were, or maybe they were really close, but that mom just wasn't ready. So it's like, don't force yourself to be like, I'm coming over tomorrow because I want to see little Timmy, blah, 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 blah. It's just like, well, but to bring it back, I've mentioned this in the postpartum episodes, but it's just the way sometimes we phrase things because women, especially, don't like accepting help sometimes. I don't know, it's like if it's an
Mm-hmm.
ego thing or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying, hey, congrats, let me know how I can help, anything you need. Great sentiment, great like thought behind that sentence, but I'm never going to text you back and be like, "Can you bring me dinner tomorrow because I can't get out of bed?" I wouldn't
Yeah.
do that. So instead saying, "I'm bringing you dinner. Let me know which day works best next week if next week is, all right with you guys." Something
Yeah.
like that. It's like, "I'm going to do this. Just let me know when." Right? And then it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, it's happening. So, I can think about what day and I'll let her know. So
Yeah. That's a good one. I'm a big fan of the dinner making.
it's really nice and so helpful.
And just saying I've tried to make a point too to tell people, hey, I'm just gonna drop it off.
Yep.
Like I don't want people to feel like I'm busting up in there. Because we've had some people have friends. We've had some friends have kids that are Jason's guy friends. So I'm not as close to their spouse. And I still want to do something, but she definitely doesn't know me to just be busting up in their house.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think that's kind of a good thing too, where you just package. And my tip to the ladies is just put everything in something you don't want back. Don't either put it in a throwaway. I love the tin, whatever. You just toss them in the garbage when you're done, or give it to them in a thing and make the Tupperware the gift. Or,
Mm-hmm.
like if you're doing a 9x13, then like, oh, this is yours now, so that the
Yes.
person doesn't have something that they have to clean and then coordinate to get back with you. Unless they like live next door and they can leave the dirty dish on the porch and you can collect it and bring it back. But
that's a great one. Here's
a dish you have to clean up, and then coordinate with me and then feel guilty about not giving back for 6 months.
I feel like you are, I don't know if it's your social worker brain or just you as a person, but your list is still a lot of, these are my tips as non-mom things versus like, as a non-mom, this is what I need.
I'm getting back.
Okay.
I'm getting back.
Okay.
I'm getting to it. I think there's a lot of women that need
things.
I just think there's a lot of women that need to hear these things, because half of, I think, what's hard when you're not the one having the kid is that you just don't know where you fit, and feeling self-conscious about it. And so I think half of it is just feeling comfortable with being helpful, and then just, I don't know, just doing that.
No, I like it. It was just funny. I was listening. I was like, she's saying all of them great. Like she's on point with everything, but I still haven't figured out what she needs.
Okay. Your turn.
Oh, is it? Okay. My next one is be patient, with your new mom friend. So, AKA our podcast. I know maybe you had a twinge of nerves, like, shit, what's going to happen when she has this baby? Like, we've got a schedule. What the hell are we going to do? We obviously figured out ahead of time that you're going to take over for my little maternity break via the podcast. And I'm so glad we did that, because it was hard in the beginning and I wouldn't have been able to show up well. And I didn't want you to expect me to show up, and I knew you didn't. So it's like just being patient and knowing, don't take it personally if the first 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you don't have the same friendship or relationship or communication, because they are going through something. I do think it's different, but it's kind of a good comparison with grief. Like there's a lot of time, but there's a good chunk of concentrated time right after the big life event happens, where you just got to let them do it and just know that it'll come back. So don't be annoyed, not like you were, but to the people. Like, don't be annoyed, like, oh, my friendship's changed, like, she's not responding, it feels different. If it's within the first 3 months, like, give it some time. And maybe even more depending on the person, but it'll get back. It's just not going to be the same right away,
Yeah. Oh, this is not something that you ever made me feel, but I think it can happen unintentionally, which is, I don't have a kid, but I'm still allowed to be tired. And I'm still allowed to be stressed out.
Yep.
And I'm still allowed to have feelings. And just being aware, if you are the person that's, new mom or new job or new whatever the thing is, that you're not turning every conversation into, oh, well, here's my thing. Like, not turning you think you're tired? I only slept an hour the last 5 days. Like, it might be true. And I think, especially if you're somebody like me that overthinks and is overly in tune and aware of other people's feelings, like, you're going to feel uncomfortable even just saying something remotely close to the words that I'm tired in front of your friends that have kids. And part of that's my own issue, but it's not the oppression Olympics. Like, it's not, we're not trying to one up each other. That Kristen Wiig from SNL where she's like, well, actually, I've never slept. And do you remember her?
Vaguely.
Every time somebody would say something like, oh, my back hurts. And she's like, well, actually, I don't have a back.
Oh,
It was taken out.
yes.
It was removed
Yes.
by aliens. And then they put plastic in. So, okay. Yeah. Anyway, but just being aware of that because it's really invalidating. And it's, if you are somebody that doesn't have kids and you're trying to like re-enter a little more give and take in the friendship, if you're having a hard day and you just want to talk to your girlfriend about it, it's really not great when they turn around and are like, that's cool, but listen, my thing's so much worse.
Right.
Like,
I mean, even
acknowledge it first. Like, oh, that's hard. Or just give somebody the validation. And then when it's your turn, then you talk about your thing. But just being aware of that, older people used to do that to me all the time at work. All the fucking time. I think that's actually where I'm getting this from is and their kids were fucking adults and grown or way past, the point of really needing much other than you to worry about them not coming home at curfew. So I'd come into work and be tired and they're like, oh, well, you just wait till you have kids. You don't even know what tired is. I'm like, bitch, you haven't had a baby in 16 years. Like, I get it, but also what value was that in this conversation? And how does that make me ever want to talk to you again for anytime I need something? If you're just going to be like, shut up, mine's worse.
Yeah. We have a really good friend she's been traveling a lot and has been really busy with work. And she was like, I don't even want to say this, but I'm just so tired. I know you guys are probably more tired, but like, I'm so tired. And I told her, you also have the right to be tired. You've been doing a lot. Just because you don't have a kid doesn't mean you can't be tired. Like, it's not invalidating just because you don't have a baby to take care of. So I agree completely with that one. Okay. Still invite us to things. Even though we may say no. I just want to be invited because I want to feel loved and cared for and not forgotten. Because weirdly, I think it goes back to old times where there was such a community when you had kids, and because we don't live in that kind of society, as much as you have people around you and like your significant other or grandparents or friends, it still feels weirdly isolating. I don't know what that is. It's just, I think you're in like, it's me, it's my responsibility to take care of this child. I have to keep this thing alive. And it's like, you're just so focused that it becomes isolating. So just don't forget about us. And we may say no, but still invite us to things.
Actually, ditto.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Because that was one thing for me that was hard is I feel like new moms are, I'd invite them to do things and they're like, oh, well, it needs to be earlier. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I probably have the same bedtime as your child. Like, I don't care if we have to do a dinner early. Like, you're not, if I want to see you, I'll do whatever your schedule is. So I guess my thing is like, to say to moms, like, you can stop apologizing. And to the dinkwads, you should get it. I mean, don't expect your new mom friend to want to go out to dinner at 8 p.m. And maybe she'll want to, but maybe she won't. Like you were saying, tell me a day, tell me a time, and then I'll meet you for dinner. Like, and I also never get butthurt that people are late, or I'm never annoyed that your kid had a blowout and you need an extra minute. Like, it's fine. I guess that's my thing. It's just telling them, like, it's fine. It's fine. I get it. And I'm happy to accommodate or do whatever. Or if you'd rather meet for breakfast instead of dinner, or you'd rather do lunch, like, we don't care. At least I don't care. I just want to spend time with you. And I have a hard time. I get self-conscious about, like, I want to spend time with you as my friend so you and I can just be friends. And then, but I also want to get to know your kid and spend time with them. So a lot of times I just left it open. Like, if you want to do just the ladies, great. If you want to do us and the kids, great. You pick one and then tell me. Because there is like a little different, the plans are different. Like I'm not going to go to a wine bar and have a charcuterie board with a toddler in tow. That's stupid. So just, I guess my piece of advice to the dinkwads is to be aware of that, but also to the new moms, like you don't have to try to fit into a no kids schedule. I'm not expecting that. But also please invite us to things like you just said. Like obviously no one wants to go to a kid's birthday party as an idea, but you want to go to the things for the people that you care about. So where I don't want to show up to a birthday party for a 4-year-old of somebody I barely know, like how dare you invite me to that? But for my friends, like please invite me. And I don't know about everyone else, but I feel self-conscious trying to do things with families that have multiples, and Jason and I don't show up with a playmate in tow. And so I think then it starts happening where the couples that they hang out with kind of self-select for the ones that have kids, because then all of the kids have stuff to do. But part of me is like, can we still be invited? Because
also,
I'll bring food.
Yeah, and if you have multiples, play with yourselves, siblings. I don't know. That's interesting.
I think what happens is a lot of kids make friends at school, and then the parents make friends with their friends. And so then these like new bubbles start forming. And for me, like, I just don't get bitter about it. It's kind of the way of life. And I think some people do come in and out of your life. But that part is kind of shitty where it's like, I guess we just don't do stuff together anymore because I don't have a way for your kids to be entertained.
Yeah.
I don't know. And Jason and I have always tried to make a point to be very like, come over to our house, we'll go to your house. Like we don't have to go out and do something fancy, whatever the situation is that makes it work. I think that sometimes though it's that assumption. It's like, well, they wouldn't want to do this because they don't have kids or that's boring. And it's like, even if it is boring, I still want to do it.
So far, it feels like if we all have some more empathy and communication, a lot could be different. I'm going to loop in a couple of these since we're running out of time. But my couple more for me. I don't want your unsolicited advice. I don't want it. Unless we have a very healthy, genuine relationship. I can think of a few people, or like my mother, I have a very good, healthy relationship with my mom. And if she politely suggests something that's maybe a little different to help me out, I'm here for it. But unsolicited advice, especially from people I don't know and strangers, cut it out. Which leads me into, don't judge a mother's care, whether it's how she feeds her baby, how she wears her baby, how she sleeps with her baby. She's going to do what's right for her. I don't need the judgment nor the unsolicited advice. So
I think no one needs unsolicited advice ever. I think even if it's me to you and I noticed something, I think it's still better to ask someone if they want feedback.
Valid.
Because even if you want, like your mom, even if you want your mom's feedback, if it's not the right moment for it, it's not going to be, you're not going to hear it anyway.
Yeah.
Like it's better to be like, hey, I noticed, like, do you want to hear my thoughts or just something? Even just giving somebody that little granule of saying yes, I think helps it get received better. My big thing to the moms is just because we don't have kids doesn't mean we don't like kids. And I mean this as me and my husband. Also, if we make jokes about kids, it's not yours.
That makes sense.
What I mean? Like, yeah. I can talk about things in general being annoying, and I don't mean that it's about you. And we've talked about this in other things. And I get it's like sensitive and people have more emotions, especially postpartum, but it's like, it's not personal.
I mean, I still don't even like kids and I have a kid.
Yeah, well, there's that too, man. As someone that's not a mom, I don't know anything about diaper rash or pacifiers or car seats, but I don't find any of it boring. It's just, if you care about it, I care about it. So it's now if you were just Wendy in, the sales department, fucking shut up. But for my friends, for the people that I care about the things that they're interested in. So you're not talking about your kid too much. You're not showing me too many baby photos. You're not sending too many videos. It's fine. I would be the same if you had a new puppy. I would be the same even if you had a cat. Even though I notoriously don't like watching cat videos. But if it's a person that you love what they love.
Exactly.
So I think it's just stop assuming that you're bothering people and just be excited about what you're excited about, whatever that phase looks like. And your real friends will show up for you and support you there and be excited with you and be sad with you and sit in whatever like space you're in at the time that you're in it. And you should, as like the receiver of the help, you should expect that. And if people aren't showing up with you, and if people aren't willing to like hold whatever space you're in the time that you're in that, you need to reevaluate their ranking in the amount of time that they're getting in your life, because that's not what friends do.
Mm-hmm. Move them out of your MySpace order of friends.
Yeah, right.
I've got two more ones. Okay, so the first one is the just like some people need more time postpartum versus other people want social interaction right away. When you are with those new moms, my biggest thing is to ask and don't assume whether they want a break, aka, yes, take my baby so you can love on my child while I go take a shower for the first time in 5 days and actually not worry about my baby like phantom crying in the background. Or some women, like me, I probably had a little bit of an attachment. I don't want to say issue because I don't want to make it sound negative, but biologically, I didn't want my baby in someone else's arms for longer than a certain amount of time. Even my closest family members and my closest friends, in the very small beginning, it was like a part of me was over there, and I was instinctually, I was like I'm not holding my baby. Like, I don't know, that's maybe not healthy, but that's how I was right in the beginning. And so it's like, yes, love on my baby, my mom, my in-laws, my siblings, like, but like give them back to me when you can, like, if you can tell that I'm like a little antsy or like,
Yeah.
just like maybe just pay attention to those signs, because at least for me, I had a hard time letting go in the beginning, which is interesting. So
was it hard? Did you have those same feelings when Kenny was holding him?
no, but also in the beginning, it's so hard too, because with breastfeeding every fucking 2 hours or whatever it is,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
always have to be with them. And it's like this weird bond that, you just have from them being inside of you, and then to go through a traumatic thing together, and then to be breastfeeding. I mean, he was a lot of the times on me anyway. But I think it was almost like a animalistic, like instinctual thing, like, he's mine right now. I have to feed him and support him and make him survive on this breast milk. So like, I have to do this. I don't know. It was very weird. Like almost survival mode.
And you're not still there.
No.
Either.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big thing too for me, is just every mom's going to be different, and it's going to look different, and it's going to look different with every kid. So like you were saying, to not give unsolicited advice, it's like just kind of roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it might look weird. It might be weird, but if it's not causing a problem for their life,
mm-hmm.
or like you can tell when things cross a point where, okay, like at some point you need to start getting out of the house, or at some point you need to be able to go out, and maybe that first time is going to be really hard, but you're going to have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like that's not, you're not their partner.
Mm-hmm.
If you're their partner and you're raising the kid together, then like you guys can need to negotiate that. But as the friend, it's just kind of like, know what your role is.
Okay, one more real quick. My last thing is, do just check in as like as in your closed open things or whatever. I just like that more check-ins I feel like are better, and maybe knowing not to like go to school and know the signs of anxiety and depression, but like if you know someone well enough to be a really good friend, maybe just pay attention because postpartum is super real. And as someone who was not susceptible to anxiety and depression, looking back, I probably was on the verge of a slight
Yeah.
postpartum depression, and I wasn't even aware of it at the time. So you forget that someone's someone's so different that they can be more susceptible. So just checking in more and just, you know, if you have the relationship of especially partners, like, okay, we got to get out of the house, or,
Yeah.
what do we need to like get out of this funk? And sometimes there's not anything to do but time and maybe therapy. But yeah, just knowing that even people who aren't susceptible to depression are more susceptible postpartum.
Yeah.
That was a wake up for me.
Yeah. I think the moral of the story is just to communicate with people and ask for what you need, tell people what you need, and don't be afraid to accept the help, and then don't make assumptions.
Yeah.
And really, I do think it's a big lesson in how to be a friend, because from both angles, like, you have to care about what that person cares about, and you have to show up and sit with them wherever they are. So again, as the non-child person in friendships, even though it's dumb, like, I know my dog's not your kid, or I know that you didn't sleep or you slept less than me, but it's shitty to make somebody feel like their stuff is not a big deal. So if it's a big deal to them and you're their friend, it should be a big deal to you. So if their project seems stupid, or their hobby or whatever it is that they're into, like, they don't need to hear, oh, it must be nice to be able to go out, or I wish I had that much free time. It's not a healthy way to communicate, to try to make somebody feel guilty. And I think a lot of times we just talk that way because it's just kind of a way that people interact. But if you want your friendship to be sustainable, both people just have to show up, and you just both have to care enough about the other person that you give a shit about what's important to them. I think that's the biggest takeaway. Like, if both parties do that, they'll navigate it fine. But you can't have somebody out here like, my thing's bigger, my thing's worse, my thing.
Even in
Like, it's just shitty.
out of this scenario, that context, that's annoying either way. Don't do that. Don't be that person in any situation.
No, it's just
The
not a
one
recipe
upper.
for anything.
No.
Yeah. Or the Debbie Downer, like with our podcasts, like, oh, we're starting a podcast. You don't need the person. You don't need your good friends to be like, why, or that's weird, or just be excited. Again, for me, with friends that have hobbies that I don't get, it's like, whatever, bro. I don't maybe want to participate in Dungeons and Dragons or whatever, but you leveled up, or you whatever. Cool. I'm excited about you being excited. I don't have to want to do it with you. Oh, that's my very last thing is, if you're a mom, I get that you love it so much that you want everyone to be a mom, but I might not want to be. I don't know. There's a fine line, and when you're close with somebody, I'm not annoyed when my close girlfriends ask about, if I would want to have kids, or, whatever. And I get that it is very rewarding, and I'll never know if I don't ever have kids. But I think I think all women, even if you don't necessarily know that you want kids, recognize that there's a timeline, and there's always a little bit of a fear, like, am I going to regret this or not? Don't fucking rub that in. Like, they don't need that.
No, because they're already
It's a
probably
hard
thinking
enough
about it.
decision as it is. All right.
Yeah.
Well, this was
That was
fun.
good. If we missed anything, let us know. Or if you have any feedback for our feedback, I'm curious. But I loved all of these, and they all made sense. And I do think it just goes back to empathy and communication, and don't assume things.
Yeah. And if you get butt hurt, just give people the benefit of the doubt. That usually helps.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I
Well, on
love
that
you.
note, I will see you next week, and I love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Oh, fart. What was that? Man,
I'm
I
sorry.
can't remember. No, it's not your fault.